Welcome to Jazz Time. JazzTime.com is an online store that buys, sells, and trades authentic luxury watches. We make these videos so our customers can easily choose the best watch for themselves in the comfort of their own home. If you like this video, click the subscribe button below. If you like this watch, click on the link in the description below and buy it at the lowest prices anywhere online. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Richard Mille Le Mans Classic Titanium RM010, also known as RM10. Today I'm going to talk to you about the dial, the bezel, the movement, the bracelet, try it on, and give you my thoughts. So this watch is the RM10. It's a modified version of the RM10. In fact, it's limited only by 40 pieces. Now, what part is different from the RM10? Well, it's a Le Mans Classic RM, or Richard Mille likes to do special editions of their popular models. Now, RM10 was a very popular model. It was introduced in 2006. It replaced the RM05. Now, since I told you, I'll talk about the case. Let me tell you, this case is 48 millimeters from the top to bottom. That means that from where the bracelet connects at the top here to the very bottom where my thumb is, that's 48 millimeters. To give you some reference, that's a good size. The current production RM7201 is also 48 millimeters. About the largest RM6501, I think, is about 50 or 51 millimeters. So it's a good size. Going from left to right, as in 9 to 3, that is 39 millimeters. Also a very reasonable good size. To give you some reference, the current model in 2013 of RM72, which in some ways is a successor to this, is 38 millimeters. This one is 39, so pretty much right on. The thickness of the RM10 is 13.8 millimeters thick, but that's actually only when you put it on its side. It's 13.8 millimeters at its largest point. But since this watch has a slope on it, it is thinner on its edges and thicker in the center. So it's only 13.8 millimeters in the center of it. So in fact, this is a very good dimension. Now, to give you some background, in 2006, they replaced the RM05 because it was really just too small. It was like 37 millimeters going from the top to bottom, 12 to 6. But this one is 48 in comparison. It was just way too small. It looked like a baby's watch. Or I guess if somebody had a really small wrist, they could wear it. But it was too small. So they replaced it in 2006 with the RM10. It's a very, very good size. In fact, it's currently, as of 2023, the size that Richard Mille is going with. Now, for some time, I would like to say 2006 until like 2020, for a period of 15 years, the watches were getting bigger and bigger and bigger until they eventually got to the size of RM30, or even bigger, and they just got too big. People didn't like it, and it wasn't functional. You couldn't wear it in your suit cuff or any of your jackets. So they had to slim them back down. So the RM10 came out. It replaced the 05. It was the first time that Richard Mille really made the perfect sized watch. Then in 2011, they made some minor changes. They made the date. They put it at the 5 o'clock instead of here at the 7 o'clock. They made it just a tiny bit thinner. It still had the same dimensions, just a tiny bit thinner. I think it's at a 12.8 millimeters as opposed to a 13.8 millimeters. You could just hardly tell. And the movement is exactly the same. So that gives you some background on this. That was 2011. Soon thereafter, the RM30, which is, as you can imagine, the RM29's bigger brother, came out, and it was even bigger. But back to this one, the RM10. Now it has a classic tonneau-shaped watch case. Tonneau-shaped case is another word for basically rectangle. It has that shape to it, as you can obviously see. It's very notably Richard Mille. It's a classic Richard Mille watch case. If anyone takes a look at this, they will know immediately. What I could bring your attention to is Richard Mille likes to use very lightweight materials. Composite materials like carbon fibers or TPT, carbon TPT, titanium, and this watch is no exception. They made this watch out of titanium, which is very difficult to work with, but it makes the watch very, very light. It makes sense that if it's a Le Mans Classic that the watch would be made out of titanium because titanium is light. It's used in car racing, aeronautics, and it's also used in this very good watch. So this watch has a bezel that, as you can see, is also made out of titanium. A couple of things that I can point out is that it has these spline screws that normally when you see these screws, for example on an Audemars Piguet, there's just that one line. These ones actually have 5 little notches, or splines if you will, that allow when you put the tool in and turn it, it distributes the force evenly throughout the screw so that you don't strip the screw or you don't damage it, or so that the screw also goes in straight. That is what you are seeing. So you have 2 on the side and you also have 2 that hold the top and the bottom that hold the bracelet in. So in total, you have 2, 4, 6, 8. 8 screws that hold this in and gives you that iconic Richard Mille look. Let me point something else out to you. Richard Mille does such a good job at making their watches indistinguishable from any other watch, but they also do a great job on finishing. I want to bring your attention to this. Look at the side of this case. You see it's a brushed top, but the side has a very beautiful beveled edge. A lot of people don't notice it, but it's beveled as in it has another. It goes straight, then 45 degrees, then another 45 degrees. Why do they do that? I'm not sure, but it does look very cool and I like it a lot. So I wanted to bring your attention to it. So I told you this one is titanium, and I showed you its profile from one side. Now let me show you the side profile from the crown side. Now it's interesting too. What did they do for this crown? They put a tire tread on it, it's cool. I mean, this is supposed to be a Le Mans Classic. By the way, Le Mans Classic is not your typical Le Mans that you've probably seen on your 24-hour Le Mans. It's for older vintage cars. I think somewhere around like 1979 or older, something like that. So look at the crown. I think it's very cool. You probably have to agree with that. If you look at the side from the case, it's got these bars. These bars also, I don't know, they just look very cool. What else can I say about it? I mean, it's very typical Richard Mille. So that is the case. Let's move around here to the movement. Now, the movement is your RMAS7. Interestingly, it's the same movement that is in both the RM10 as well as the RM29. So even though the 29 is the evolution of the 10 by having a slightly bigger date, they both use the RMAS7 movement. Now, what is so special about this movement? Well, first of all, it has a titanium base plate. Most watchmakers don't make their base plates out of titanium. In fact, it's made of grade 5 titanium, and it's an alloy composed of 90% grade 5 titanium, 6% aluminum, 4% vanadium. This makes the movement very lightweight and very strong. They also skeletonized it and put holes in it to make it even lighter, so it's a very cool movement. Even to this day, if you look at the RM30 movement, which is the successor to this one, it doesn't look that much different. It's an offshoot of this one. I mean, it's a little bigger, but it looks very similar. Now, looking back here, you can see that the movement is suspended by 4, I don't know what you would call these, prongs or holders that allow the movement to be settled in the watch such that vibrations and moving around is not going to disrupt it. Another very cool thing, at the time it was revolutionary, in fact even now it's still quite revolutionary. If you look at the rotor is the thing that powers the watch. It has a variable geometry setting. You can put it toward the center or towards the outside, and that will help determine how fast the rotor will wind. Just for example, let's say you're a very sedentary person. Well, you would want to have the watch wind easily. You'd want to put these little wings or these little pieces out at the very periphery so that you can wind the rotor the fastest. Let's say you're doing sports all the time, or I don't know, you're driving a race car. Well, you put it on the innermost setting so it doesn't wind that fast, so that it doesn't overwind the movement. So I think that's really cool. In fact, nobody else has ever really done that. Actually, nobody has done that, at least that I know of. But the only thing is, the only time that you can do this is when you send it in for service. I guess you can take it off yourself and push it, but it's probably best to do it when they service it, so that it's just the movement. Let's take a look here at the front again. I forgot to mention this watch actually uses 3 sapphire crystals. One curved at the front that you can obviously see here, but then another one where they print those hour markers. 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. Other stuff that they write on here. So that's pretty cool. If you look at the bezel, the inside bezel, it's green. It's British racing green. So that's very cool. One thing that's different about the RM10 that is different from this is that this one is different in that it has a 24-hour hand on the upper right-hand side. Presumably the Le Mans at 24 hours. And so you'd like to know what time, like if it's 11 a.m. or 11 p.m., 6 a.m., 6 p.m., so that it has this extra feature. I'm not sure if it's that so useful, but it does look pretty cool. Of course, it has the date on the bottom left, same as all RM10s do. So that is the movement. I talked about the case and the bezel. Let's talk about the bracelet. The bracelet is your standard Richard Mille bracelet. It has a single vent. They also make watches with double vents, but those ones were on later models, such as the RM11. They make the watch look super sporty. So I think for this watch being a smaller watch, not as big as the RM11, the RM11 was just massive, by the way, just way too big. This watch is much more down to earth. It's something that you could actually wear opposed to the RM11, which again was just massive. Having a single vent, it's not a bad thing. I like that they matched the British racing green bezel with this green strap. I think it's a fantastic combination. It really is. On titanium, it's a perfect mix. I believe they also made this watch on white gold, but I am not a fan of it because white gold is heavier. Why put a white gold case on a racing watch? It just doesn't really make sense. It should be made of titanium, carbon, or something of that sort, especially since it's a Le Mans classic. This one also has the Richard Mille buckle, which is, of course, made of titanium as well. You pop it out, and then it easily comes out. And then it's the same as all other Richard Mille buckles. But that's not a bad thing because they are very good. So let me try this on my wrist. I am 200 pounds. I have a 7.5-inch wrist. As you can see, it looks quite good on me. Actually, very good on me. I think it looks great. I gave you my thoughts earlier, which is back in 2006, RM was realizing that bigger watches were coming into fashion. Well, that was because they had the RM05, which was just really tiny at 38 millimeters in length, from 12 to 1. And that was just too small. So they came up with this one. They made it with the right dimensions, as I said earlier, 48 millimeters from top to bottom, 12 to 6. 39 millimeters, 9 to 3, left to right, and then 13.8 millimeters at the widest point, which is probably, when it gets closer to the edges, probably closer to 12. So it's a very good size. May I remind you again, the current model 7201 is almost the same exact dimensions as this. So Richard Mille, after 15 years, has gone back to the same dimensions. So in terms of size, it's really, really good. It looks classic Richard Mille. And the movement is always going to look beautiful. And it does. At this price point, the main thing here is at this price point, there's not a lot of RMs that are going to cost you in the low 100s. At the time of this video, at least, this watch is going to go for $150,000 complete with box and papers. So at this price point, what else can you get RM wise? That's going to be, first of all, special limited edition. This one's limited to 40 pieces, 40. It also has your classic RM look. It has a perfect size, and it's complete with box and papers. Not a lot of RMs. In fact, I can't think of any. In fact, most RMs are going to be in the 200,000, 300,000 or more range. So this one, being small, compact, not small, I'd say fair size, compact, sleek, it checks a lot of boxes. I think at this price point, it really, really shines. Now, if it were $200,000, that would be a different story, but it's low 100s, at least at the time of this video. So I just think it's a fantastic watch. If you would like to buy it, go to jazztime.com, JAZTIME.com, or just click the link in the description below.
If you want to find out more about the watch you just saw in the video, you can just click below on Show More to see the full description. Then you can check the link next to Model as seen in video, click on it, and you will get to the proper page where you can see all the details. If you're watching on a mobile phone, you have to click on the arrow down on the right hand side below the video to see the full description. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. If you would like to share this video with your friends, you can use the share button below and share it on any platform you like. If you have questions, constructive feedback, want to tell us about some mistakes or misspeaks, just write a comment below. If you want to see more videos like this, you should subscribe to our channel and visit our channel page where you can find all the videos. And if you're interested in a specific watch brand, you can check out our playlists. If you want to check the price for a watch or want to buy one, remember at jazztime.com you always get a steep discount, so you should check the prices with us. If you want to know the price for a specific watch, just go to Google, type in JazzTime, plus the brand, model and the details you're interested in, and Google will find the right page for you. Thank you for watching.